It's not unprecedented. The Queensland fire season normally starts in the north around July and moves south. But what is quite concerning is that it's right down in the southeast. And that is quite unusual this time of year. But we've also got a situation where big parts of New South Wales, from the north coast right down to the Illawarra, are also in high fire danger. And that's unusual. It's something we've seen with climate change. We used to have sequential fire seasons moving from north to south. Now we often get simultaneous fire weather, and that does restrict us from sharing resources.
Yeah, as you say, this is sort of an early start to the season, particularly in those southern areas of Queensland. Is this going to be, or do you think it already is, the new normal?
Well, Queensland's fire seasons have changed markedly over the last few decades. It was never really considered a bushfire state, if you like. The southern states, particularly New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, and parts of West Australia, were considered to be more fire prone. But over the last 30 to 20 years, the fire seasons in Queensland have become longer, more severe, larger fires, and far more property losses. So that is of concern. And in the southern states, of course, we saw Black Summer. We had the largest fires ever recorded, forest fires, and the largest property losses ever.
So we're seeing now a stratospheric warming event over Antarctica, which I understand started late last month. Can you just explain to us what that means and how it is impacting the conditions that we're seeing in Queensland?
Yes, that's a huge worry, Mel. It's got the attention of all the fire authorities across Australia and Bureau of Meteorology, CSIRO, because it's only really happened twice before. In 2002, when we had the Millennium Drought, and we had massive fires across southeastern Australia, we had major property losses. And then just after it, we had the Canberra bushfires in January 2003 that destroyed more than 500 buildings and led to the fastest moving bushfire ever recorded in the world and the first fire tornado ever recorded in the world. Then the next one was 2019-20, which drove our Black Summer bushfires and relentless westerly winds. So already we're seeing a switch to westerly winds, warmer, drier weather. As I said today, pockets of extreme fire danger in Brisbane and Sydney at the same time. The forecast outlook for spring was to be wetter than normal with negligible fire risk. So we're hoping this isn't sustained, because we could be in for a very bad summer if it is.
You talked about fire seasons starting earlier or running longer. We often share firefighting resources with our friends in the Northern Hemisphere with, sort of opposing fire seasons. We often see Australians heading over to the US and Canada. But if our fire season here is starting earlier or going longer, is that something that's going to be feasible into the future? And are we well prepared enough for that?
Look, it's a major question that fire authorities worldwide are discussing right now, because we have seen this overlapping. We saw in Los Angeles in January their worst fires ever, 16,000 homes destroyed in winter. That was their winter. And I've worked in Los Angeles with Los Angeles County and Los Angeles City fire departments over the years. They were just gobsmacked because they generally don't get fires after early November. But so right in the middle of our fire season, they had the biggest deployment of fire resources they've ever had. And we've had hundreds of Australian personnel assisting in Canada. And with that overlap, it means big equipment like large aerial firefighting tankers. We lease all but one from the Northern Hemisphere. And if they have year-round fire seasons, which is what California are talking about now, they won't be able to release them. And in Australia, during Black Summer, we used to have those sequential fire seasons. Every state and territory was burning at the same time, and we couldn't help each other. So that's the danger. Now, I spoke to the Los Angeles County Fire Chief a couple of weeks ago, Anthony Moroney, and he was saying, look, the biggest thing for us, the best resourced fire jurisdiction in the world, we had a failure of imagination. We never imagined that climate change would lead to 160 kilometre per hour winds with gusts above that blew firefighters over and rendered their efforts just unable to control the fires. It was house to house ignition. So we're very worried about climate change. The National Climate Risk Assessment has painted a very sobering picture of what to expect because we're not driving down climate pollution quickly enough. Firefighters will do what they've always done. They'll do the best they can. They'll help everyone they can, but on some days we just don't win.